This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Welcome back. We're here with Mike Davis, former chief counsel for the Senate Judiciary Committee and currently the founder and president of the Article 3 Project. And we've been talking about the upcoming trial in Manhattan, where District Attorney Alvin Bragg is taking Donald Trump to trial. This is really quite extraordinary. The government's chief witness is Michael Cohen, a former lawyer for the Trump Organization. I know Michael Cohen. He testified before both the House and the Senate, claiming that he had overheard a phone conversation between me and Donald Trump, candidate Trump, because Trump put this phone conversation on speakerphone, in which I told the president, allegedly, that WikiLeaks had and would publish information on the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton that would be damaging to her campaign. First, Mr. Cohen testified that this happened in July of 2016. Then he testified that it happened in August of 2016, changing his story. I can tell you exactly when it happened, Mike. It happened never. There's no phone record to bolster this claim. The assistant to Trump, who Cohen said came into the room and said, Mr. Trump, Roger Stone is on line one. She denies that ever happened as well. That's because, well, it never happened. That's why Michael Cohen was not a witness in my trial. I think they realize that he changes his story constantly. And in this case, Cohen has said, both under oath and in letters and in writing, and I believe in previous testimony, that he did not pay off Stormy Daniels on behalf of Donald Trump. Stormy Daniels herself, the adult movie actress, says this never happened. These people have changed their stories so many times. It's amazing. And then yesterday, Michael Avenatti, not one of my heroes, currently incarcerated for unrelated crimes where he stole from a number of his clients, he came forward and said the person who was having an affair with Stormy Daniels was not Donald Trump, but Michael Cohen himself. And that basically Cohen made these payments to silence her so that Cohen's wife would not learn. And then he attempted to use blackmail against the Trump Organization to cover up what had transpired. Now, I admit Avenatti's not the most credible witness, but what do you think of that claim, Mike?
Well, I mean, I think that Michael Cohen is going to have a lot of credibility problems with any jury because he's pled guilty to 8 counts of including fraud, and so I just it's going to be a New York City jury, a Manhattan jury, so they're obviously going to hate Trump, and they're probably going to ignore all the evidence that's exculpatory for Trump and find Trump guilty, and this judge is going to convict him. But this is a mess of a case. Remember, the Democrats have 4 criminal indictments against Trump. This is by far their weakest and dumbest case. And the only reason that this case is going first is because the other cases are tied up with presidential immunity and on the January 6th cases in D.C. and down in Georgia, and then the classified documents case is dealing with a lot of pretrial issues, including presidential immunity and many other issues. And so this is the case that's going to go to trial on April 15th. And if you think about this, this is their worst case. It's like during the Kavanaugh confirmation that I served as the staff leader, as the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I remember these Democrats brought 6 bogus allegations against Kavanaugh, that essentially he was a serial gang rapist going back to his teenage years, despite the fact that we did 7 full-field FBI investigations and separate Senate investigations, and they talked to everyone who knew Kavanaugh. going back to his childhood, and there was no whiff of this, but somehow Kavanaugh ran this secret serial gang rape ring. And remember what the Democrats did. They're doing the same play here. They piled on with way too many allegations. They couldn't just stick to Christine Blasey Ford, who's lying through her teeth, but she was the most credible. They couldn't just stick to the Mar-a-Lago case, which I can defend all day under the Presidential Records Act, but that's the Democrats' strongest case here. They had to bring in all these other allegations in the Kavanaugh matter. They had to bring in all these other cases against Trump for this election interference and lawfare, and that the American people are waking up and seeing that this is silly. And what you're going to do with this case in New York is it's going to be a clown show. It's going to be the Star Wars bar up there with all these crazy witnesses, Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, maybe Avenatti pops his head up from prison, who knows. But it's going to be a circus in New York, and the American people are going to look at that case. They're going to tune in. Many people are busy and have not been paying attention to this lawfare and election interference like we have. And when the American people tune in on April 15th and they see this clown show in New York, it's going to undermine the Democrats' lawfare and all these other cases, just like Michael Avenatti did in the Kavanaugh case when he brought his bogus allegations by Julie Swetnick against Kavanaugh, and that undermines all the other allegations that the Democrats brought against Kavanaugh with the 5 other bogus accusers.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Mike Davis, the founder and president of the Article 3 Project, thank you so much for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
Thank you, Roger.